with us, as well as some board members from the Chamber and LCEDC. Welcome guests from our member sponsor companies. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you can get something very valuable out of our session today. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our sponsors. If we could click back, Terrence. There we go. Thank you so much. Our Transform Level sponsors, Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, Penn Power, UPMC, the Elwood Group, Shannick Township, Bruce and Marilees, Hickory Run Energy, Huntington Bank, Packer Thomas, as well as Arnett Carbis Toothman, Central Heating and Plumbing, Columbia Gas of PA, First Commonwealth Bank, LCAP, and Westminster College. All of our sponsors here have joined together with Leadership Lawrence County to bring this program to you and to pass on to your companies and colleagues so we can learn about sitting on a board and being the most productive members that we can be. I want to move on ahead here and to thank Terrence and Julie Meehan for being here with us, being good friends of Leadership Lawrence County program over the last few years. I personally haven't gotten to meet you face-to-face, but we've had some wonderful virtual interactions, and I hope to in the future. We've had a great time in our sessions with you, and we know you're all in wonderful hands with Terrence and Julie today. So thank you so much, and I'll hand it off to Terrence and Julie.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, you all, we want to 100% welcome you all here. We're going to talk some more and get acquainted here a little bit in just a little bit. But I do want to let you know that this is being recorded and for future use for your county, as well as it's going to be interactive. And we're going to have a conversation, and we need to get input from you all, and we would love to see your faces. So if you're able to turn your cameras on throughout this short time we're going to have together this morning, that will be great. But and Julie and I, we're going to introduce ourselves here in just a second for those who may not be familiar with us, but we just want to do an overall welcome to you all. All right. So those introductions. So Julie, I guess since I'm already talking, I'll just start it off. So we're going to model about the amount of time we want you all to introduce yourselves individually. So I'm Terrence Meehan. I kind of like that better, Julie.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you. I'm Terrence Johnson, and I'm just really glad to be here. Love the work that we're doing with Lawrence County over the last few years, and I'm obviously with the J.W. Fanning Institute for Leadership Development. The nonprofits that I'm involved with currently, I'm with two national nonprofits on their board and two local nonprofits here in my neighborhood, and then I'm on a board at UGA, and then I also serve with one board as an ambassador with the YMCA in Metro Atlanta area. What would make this experience worthwhile for me today is if we could, share good information that's useful for you all, and backfill on some things that you may have forgotten or didn't know. And also, if we can pick up some tips from you all, we have a lot of good stuff, but we don't have all the answers, and we would love to also learn from you all. Julie?
All right. Well, my name is Julie Meehan. I am a facilitator at Fanning as well, and I've met some of you all through the leadership class. It's great to see familiar faces again. I was an executive director for about 10 years and have worked with boards from local organizations to appointed boards like our Department of Family and Children Services. So I've been on a wide range of boards and am working on my dissertation, so don't serve on any currently. So as soon as that baby's done and put to rest, then I will go back on the board circuit when I know that I can give the time necessary to do so. And what would make this experience worthwhile is hearing from you all about things that we don't know about. So like as Terrence said, you all have served on boards or have been in the arena before. And so it's always great to get new tips and new ideas from the groups that we work with. So why don't we start by having you all introduce yourselves. Just a real quick overview with who you are, what nonprofits you're involved with, and what you're looking to get out of today. So who would like to go first?
I'll be glad to.
Thanks, Linda.
Sure. I'm Linda Nitch, and I'm the Director of Economic Development for the Lawrence County Regional Chamber, as well as the Economic Development Corporation. Been in the community since the 90s and involved in various nonprofits over the years. Most recently, I'm on the board of the PA Downtown Center. So I think that that statewide group really adds value as far as what I can bring to the community. And hey, I'll be happy just to have a review of things. Sometimes what seems obvious to me, I need to hear again because it's not as obvious to others. Thanks.
That's good, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Hi, I'm Laura Glenn. I used to work at Human Services Center in Lawrence County for about 14 years, which was a nonprofit behavioral health. I recently joined in October the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy Program Research and Evaluation Unit. What I'm most interested in today is learning more, understanding how to, I guess, like the bylaws of being on a board, some of the more, I guess, protocols and policies and understanding them and how they impact the work that the board does and how it impacts the community.
Excellent. Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can go next. I'm Melissa Mayella. I am on the board of Visit Lawrence County and Sense of Connection, both local nonprofits, and I also work for Arts and Education at the Hoyt. So I'm also employed by a nonprofit. So I wear two different hats when it comes to the nonprofit world. And I guess what would make this experience worthwhile? Planning in the time of COVID is challenging for all of our boards that I'm involved in. So I'm interested in getting ideas from you guys as far as how you're managing in this new world. We at the Hoyt keep getting shut down because we get lumped in with other entertainment venues, even though there's less people here in a week than there is in 10 minutes in Target. But so it makes life challenging. I do apologize. I have to jump off at 8:30 to do a Visit Lawrence County board meeting, but I'll listen to the rest of the recorded session. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Next.
I'll go next.
Thanks, Roger.
Roger Nye. I work for Westminster in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania. I'm the Assistant Director of Facility Operations, and I will take any good information I can get from anybody. I need all the help I can get, so especially in today's world. So I'm always open to new ideas and fresh way of thinking. So.
Thank you, Roger. Good seeing you. And who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Thank you.
I am Sheena Carcetti. I am the foster care director for Cray Youth and Family Services. I've been with this nonprofit for about 11 and a half years now. And even though I did leadership, I've been in the area strictly just for work. I live in Ohio, so I really only know my realm. Leadership opened my eyes up a little bit more, but I'd also like to get involved more in the community and help with other nonprofits as needed. So.
Okay.
Great.
Next.
Sean, I'll go next. I'm Sean Carroll. I'm director of Butler County Community College. We have a site here called Lawrence Crossing in Lawrence County. Just some of the nonprofits, the Lawrence County School to Work, the Children's Advocacy. I've been involved with boards, but to just what Laura said and what Sheena said, the more I can learn about just the workings of how, boards and their function and, and how they can obviously help and promote that group and make it, the county better. And also Achina, I don't live in Lawrence County. I live in Beaver County. So I only work here. So I'd like to get more involved and, to be a, good citizen, and just to, just get involved and to make Lawrence County, it's already a great place and hopefully try to make it better.
Thanks,
Good.
Sean.
Next. I think we heard from Nick, John, Tony. Others? Do we hear from Craig or Glenn? You can go ahead, Craig. Okay. You all that have not spoken up, if you would throw your hat in the ring real quick, and we will move on.
Hi, Terrence Stonegall from UPMC Horizon and UPMC Jameson. I was last year's leadership class with Lawrence County.
Yeah.
Served with the board of directors at the Greenville Chamber of Commerce. I'm really excited because I had the opportunity to work with you last year. A lot of work and pretty good stuff. So, I know what I'm getting into. So this is some good things for us to get. Other than that, that's what we're doing.
Thank you. Good hearing your voice.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having video trouble, so my computer's not operating with me.
Oh, that's fine. All right. John, Nick, Tony.
Hey, Terry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. It took me a little while to figure out how to use this thing. So my name is Nick Bunker. I'm the quality manager at Elwood City Forage Group in Elwood City, PA.
Okay.
Let's see. I've been involved in a lot of boards in the past, but I recently moved to this area about 2 years ago, and I'm still kind of seeing how things work here and determining what organization I'm going to get involved with. But, I've never had formal training on board governance or how to keep board members engaged.
Yeah.
So I'm open to all ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I think that's a great point. I think most people haven't been in a formal training on boards and board governance, and so we appreciate y'all being here today. Most people just kind of get onto boards and are expected to know what to do, but never go through training. So
That's a good point. All right.
This is Craig. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With Nick, I think we have some trouble here at work, so I'm struggling to get on. But I'm the Assistant General Counsel here at Elwood, and as of January, I'm on the board for the Economic Development Corporation. So it's a good timing and really applicable for me to learn more of what my role entails.
Good deal. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
All right. A couple of more. Let's get through these. Kimberly, good seeing you again.
Hi, you too. I just logged in. My computer.
Oh, if you would just give us your name.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah, no, you're fine, Kimberly. If you just give us, of course, we know your name, but just your board affiliation currently, real briefly, and this will be a worthwhile time if what occurs.
Oh, I'm on a number of boards, Chamber of Commerce, New Visions, Blueprint. I don't know, a bunch of others, I'm sure.
Okay.
Pennsylvania Humanities Council, so.
Okay. All right. And is there anyone else that would like to introduce him or herself that we did not cover?
Sure, I'll go now. Sorry, my video is also having problems, but I'm at home, not at the office. So I'm John Greenwood. I'm the External Affairs Manager for Penn Power. For boards, I'm on several. In the region, I'm on Penn Northwest Economic Development Board. I'm the secretary of that board. I'm on the Economic Development Corporation for Lawrence County, Chamber, and the Foundation Board. and vice chair for West Central Job Partnership. For national, I'm on the safety section committee for American Nuclear Society, and a finance chair for an upcoming technical meeting that we're doing there that we run kind of as a micro board. That's a 2-year stint.
Oh, great. Great. Anyone else? Oh, okay. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump into it, you all. And if there's someone that we went past and you were having technical difficulties or something, at any point, just please introduce yourself at the appropriate time. Also, if you have questions as we go along, throw those questions in the chat because we will make sure that we print those questions, answer as many as we can in this short time we have together, but more importantly, to make sure that we roll those into our other sessions. We have a total of 4 sessions. Nonprofit 101 is what you're a part of today, which our focus will be on just staying at a real high level, looking at nonprofit governance and quality components like you guys spoke about, like what attracts board members, what keeps board members, and hopefully we'll get a chance to look at some board trends here today as well. In future sessions, we'll have a chance to look at the life cycle of nonprofit boards. We'll look at strategies to develop solid plans. Like for instance, everybody knows about a SWOT, but there's really unique ways to enhance that particular activity and get more bang for your buck. Also, we'll take a look at ethics on boards, how to get buy-in, not only from the board, but also the people that you're serving. We'll take a real deep dive into committees and the purposes of committees and looking at just the whole group decision-making process and what happens when you break that up into smaller groups, giving them certain powers. And then lastly, we will talk about the sustainability of board members and look at the importance of board retreats and what we suggest should happen during those retreats. And as you guys talked about, we'll look at bylaws a little deeper in that last session. We'll cover it, we'll gloss over it today, but we'll go a little deeper into bylaws and look at things like the 80-20 rule. How can we avoid 20% of the people doing 80% of the work on board? So we'll talk about that as well. So, Julie, anything you want to add to that?
No, sounds good.
All right. And you all are familiar with this next slide. And this is something that we have in here just as a reminder. And I want you all to know that in advance, we know that we're going to be going at a good clip, but you all will have all of these slides. We're going to get them all over to Melanie and Alex. So you all will have a copy as well as the ability to go back and watch this again. But as you can see, a couple things that kind of jump out when you look at a growing community. I love that you all are here to learn and to get more. I mean, that's definitely evidence of a community that's growing, that's thriving, and taking an objective look at yourselves and what it is you can learn. And as you can see, all the things listed under a dying community is pretty much just the opposite. I mean, we already know everything. We tried that won't work. And, welcome to Lawrence County, but until you prove yourself, we really don't even have ears for you yet until you truly prove yourself. So those are all signs of a community that's dying. So again, we're glad that you're all here. All right, so let's get into it. So we want you all to just kind of test your nonprofit knowledge. And again, turn those microphones on, you all. If you gotta have your videos off for whatever reason, go ahead and leave them off. But we do need your voices, and I need people to jump in right away. Who runs a nonprofit?
Whatever stated in the bylaws for who runs it.
Julie, I need a button so I can go ding, ding, ding. So let's see.
The mission, I think, is the more correct answer.
Okay.
So, okay, good. So really who runs the nonprofit from day to day is going to be the executive director, and the staff is going to fall under the executive director, whereas the board is going to be the governing body of a nonprofit. And when we get to life cycle, you'll find out more about, as you go through the life cycle of a nonprofit, who actually has more control over various stages.
Yeah, and so you all, who are the owners of nonprofits?
I'd say the board members are.
I would say the community.
The community is the correct answer. And yeah, the community, the public actually are the owners of the nonprofit.
And the board is responsible for making sure that the community is, that the nonprofit is, sorry, I haven't had enough coffee this morning, that the nonprofit is fulfilling their duties to the community.
That's it. And how are nonprofits regulated?
Audits and bylaws?
Yeah, I was going to say through federal, it's audits, but it also depends on your state.
Okay, you guys covered it pretty much through state and federal regulations. Good. And guys, jump out there. I mean, we just want to hear your voices. How many board members must a board maintain?
It would be based upon the bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay, and also based upon what your state calls for. In Georgia, Julie, I believe it's 3. You have to have a minimum of 3. Is that correct?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So all right. Good.
Is that? Let me interject a question on there. Are we focused specifically on a C3?
That is. Go ahead, Julie.
That's for a C3 or any of the 27 categories of nonprofit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a Georgia law. So every state has their own law about how many is required to register as a corporation. And that's where you're going to find that. But Linda was right too. The bylaws are going to determine what's in the minimum number you can have on your board as well.
All right. And what is the legal guiding document of a nonprofit? You guys know this one.
The bylaws.
All right.
You got it.
Good stuff. And you all remember these answers. They're going to help you as we go down here further into our PowerPoint. Do nonprofits pay taxes?
No.
No, but some things they do are taxed.
That's a good answer, John.
Very good answer. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Excellent. How are nonprofits funded?
Usually people being on their knees.
You got it.
How else?
It depends on there's many ways, and not all nonprofits are equally the same. There are some that are through authorities and commissions, private-public partnerships. There are just altruistic ones that are, membership funded or just foundation granted. I mean, there's many, many ways that they're funded.
Excellent. All right. Can a nonprofit make a profit?
That seems loaded. No, but yes. Okay. Like how you treat the money that you make matters. So.
All right.
Yeah, it's totally loaded. So you can bring a profit and should have reserves from year to year, but they all have to go back into your programming. It's not distributed to shareholders in any way.
All right. And then, that's my waiting here. Are
nonprofits required by law to have a strategic plan in place?
No.
Right. It's a really good practice, but they're not required by law.
Excellent. All right. So you all did pretty good on that. And so we know that nonprofits are regulated by federal and state governments. And we covered most of this on the last slide. You knocked it out of the park. they do not pay taxes. 501c3s do not pay taxes. However, most do pay sales tax. And if your nonprofit decides to do another line of business that's not related to that particular nonprofit, they will actually have to pay federal taxes on that. So if your nonprofit is working with children and families, and then you all of a sudden start a line of making T-shirts or something like that, under your 501c3, then that could cause you some issues. So donors, I will say that anything that we talk about that have to do with tax laws, please check with your local, state, and federal tax laws, because they may change per state. Julie, anything else on this slide?
Nope, looks good. So in the nonprofit sector, there are some exceptions, like Terrence just talked about, where you do have to pay taxes based on businesses that are unrelated to your mission. So if you are selling T-shirts, or if you're having a party or renting out your space for parties, there's the opportunity to pay some taxes on that. And then additionally, most organizations do have to pay sales tax. 501c3s, which is your standard nonprofit, have strict limitations on political activity. So there's restrictions on advocacy and lobbying for those nonprofits. And the basis or the core of what a nonprofit is that they have to fill a charitable purpose that benefits the public interest, not the interest of its members or its donors or its board members or its staff members. So that's just kind of why nonprofits exist. There's 27 categories altogether of nonprofits, which is a lot. The most common is the 501c3, and that's what we're talking mostly about today. But another common one is the 501c6, which is an association or membership organization. And like 501c3s, they don't pay federal tax, but they are created to improve the business interests of their members. So like any membership organization that you think of would be a 501c6.
And as you all know, especially those of you who mentioned that you're involved with nonprofits, they rely heavily on volunteers, including for their strategic oversight. So we're going to talk more about the accountability of the board of directors as a part of that oversight, and also the importance of that agency's rules, their bylaws. What's that North Star? And your bylaws provide you that. What we will also talk about, and I believe it's in session 2, we'll get into the specifics of strategic planning and how that strategic plan can truly help guide the direction for the board as well as the executive staff.
So the question of who does what in a nonprofit is the big one, and it also changes throughout the life cycle. So again, as we look at the life cycle in the next session, we're going to see kind of the different roles of boards over the nonprofit life cycle. The board of a new nonprofit is going to do something very different than a board of a nonprofit that's been around and has a full staff. So we'll talk about that some more next session, but there are some basic responsibilities that that boards are required to do, and it's part of board governance. So we have a little quiz for you.
Yeah, so what we'd like you all to do is to take your cameras out, take a picture of the screen that you see in front of you, because we're going to send you to your rooms and you're going to need this shot of this particular screen. So take a quick picture of that. All right. So hopefully enough people have that picture, and you'll get in the room with someone who took that picture. So what we want you all to do here in just a second is you're going to go to your rooms. You're going to discuss the responsibility of each of those 8 items very briefly. Then you're going to sort those responsibilities, and you have to make a decision. Is it a board responsibility, or is that particular item the responsibility of the CEO? And we don't want y'all to ride the fence. You got to make a choice. Is it a board responsibility, or is it the responsibility of the CEO? Appoint one person in your group to be the person that is going to come back and give your decisions to the greater group room here. So I am going to break you all up into rooms here. Create rooms. All right. So, all right, here we go.
You're going to have about 8 minutes, so you're going to have to move quickly, but
yeah.
But we have faith.
All right. So I take her out of the room. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. Rooms are coming together now, and before you know it, you'll be going to a room.
So you're going to discuss which responsibility, is it a board or a CEO responsibility for each of those on the list? And then you're going to come back in about 8 to 10 minutes and we'll discuss it as a group.
Okay, so Tony and Sean, you're going to be in a room together. It'll just be you two. But everyone else has 3 people in their room. All right, we will see you back soon. Go ahead and click so you can go ahead and join your rooms. Nick, did you get assigned a room? Yeah, no? Tony, did you see the invite to join the room? Tony? All righty. Folks, start now. Come back in about 3 seconds. I think everyone will be back. All right. Good.
All right. Well, it was a short time, but I think we've got a good group here who figured it out. So is it a board responsibility or a CEO responsibility? Number 1, determining the organizational mission and direction. Who knows who that is? Board or CEO?
I saw some lips moving. You have to unmute yourselves. And Christina, have we started the recording?
We were torn on that decision.
Okay. Tell me why. Linda, you're on mute.
I was part of the group, and the discussion really was who sets this organization up. So in some minds, it was the CEO, and that person, she or he, creates the mission and sets the direction. Personally, I don't think so, but okay, let's hear. What's the right answer?
Okay. So it's a board responsibility once the organization is set up and rolling to make the organizational mission and direction is set. Say it again. So that falls to the board, and to make sure that the organization continues to meet the mission and direction also falls to the board.
All right. And so number 2, set policy and ensure effective planning. Need somebody to jump out there from either group. Is that a board or a CEO responsibility?
Board.
Board is correct. And that's a tricky one for some people because depending on where you are in the life cycle, that one can get kind of convoluted. But yeah, the board has to set that policy and they have to ensure that there's effective planning for the CEO to run it, to carry it out.
All right, monitor and strengthen organizational performance.
Whose responsibility?
CEO.
It's a tricky one. So the CEO is going to do the day-to-day evaluation of the organization, but the board's going to monitor those evals, make sure that the organization is performing in the way it's supposed to be performing.
Yeah. All right, so number 4, ensure adequate financial resources and accountability. Board or CEO responsibility?
There was a difference of opinion within our group.
All right.
Because some members are on boards that it was the board's responsibility to go out. And others of us have been more in a different setting where it was the CEOs.
Okay. All right. So the answer, ultimately, it falls on the board. But there could be some shared responsibility, but yes. So I can understand the discussion in your group. Julie?
Ensure legal and ethical integrity. Who knows this one?
We gave this to the board as the culture starts there and flows down. So the board is ultimately responsible for legal and ethical integrity.
Absolutely. And the board's responsible for making sure that the organization complies with all of the legal and ethical requirements set forth by law and set forth by the accrediting organizations, if there are any. So, yeah.
All right. Build a competent board. Whose responsibility is that? The board or the CEO?
We thought it was the board.
You thought correctly.
That's right. And a lot of times it falls to the CEO to recruit board members, but it's really the board's responsibility.
That's right. All right.
Select, support, and evaluate the CEO.
The board.
Right. Not a trick question. It's it's the responsibility of the board. Absolutely.
And bad stuff is happening when the CEO does that him or herself. All right. And number 8, enhance the organization's public standing, board or CEO?
We gave this one to the CEO, but I could see where it would also be a board's responsibility. And I think what is maybe flavoring some of our responses is our own experience.
Yes.
This may be a board's responsibility, but it's passed on to the CEO.
Good.
And a lot of these, I think that's the case. But this is these are the governance responsibilities of a board. So so you want to make sure that a board is trained correctly to be fulfilling these responsibilities, because these are the fiduciary the governance responsibilities of a board.
Well,
there are also 3 fiduciary responsibilities of a board. So the fiduciary responsibilities are legal responsibilities of the board, and these are the duties of care, obedience, and loyalty.
So in the duty of care, this is super important. And when this duty is taken care of the right way, meaning like, for instance, is attend all board meetings. That means like truly attend, actively attend, even if you are there sometimes. Doesn't mean that you are actively present. So that's a biggie. You want your board members to have independent judgment. I've been on board for many years now, and nothing is worse than when board members just go and just kind of go along with whatever the flavor of the month is, or just born with the wind, or just voting with people that they've developed friendships with on the board, or, and in some cases, they were brought on by a CEO that they're really, really good friends with, and just kind of roll with it. You got to exercise that independent judgment. The duty of care is to make sure that they're reviewing those policies, the finances, and all the contracts, not just being a rubber stamp, but to go ahead and make sure, like Julie said, she's working on her dissertation, so she doesn't have time to review policies, finances, and contracts. So you want to make sure that you have board members who have the time to give duty of care.
Duty of obedience is about making sure that you're adhering with your bylaws, but also federal, local, and state laws, and that you're really making sure that the organization is on track with its mission and serving its mission in the community. So there's complying with reporting requirements. So filing your 990s every year with the IRS, filing as a charitable organization to start with, and then moving on to day-to-day decisions. Thanks, Sean. Making sure that everyday decisions, especially donor money coming in, making sure that it's falling within the scope of the mission and governing documents, so that you're meeting your mission on a day-to-day basis, and that funds coming in are being directed toward your mission.
And of course, the duty of loyalty. In this particular duty, you want to make sure that you have coherent conflict of interest policies. A lot of folks believe that if I'm on a board, I can't have any financial gain while I'm on that board. That's not necessarily true. You have to make sure that you're transparent and that it fits into your conflict of interest policies, and making sure that you disclose those conflicts of interest, and then have the board vote on if that is going to be something that's going to be accepted by the board. So the duty of loyalty also goes into all issues dealing with confidentiality. We all know that you hear certain things on a board that is real juicy information for folks. I mean, you'll know if you start a search for another CEO, you'll know certain things about buildings, not necessarily buildings, but an agency potentially closing or even just changing. The agencies deciding to go left when the employees in the organization may not be expecting that turn. So the duty of loyalty is making sure that board members are giving of themselves for the interest of that particular board.
So in addition to governance responsibilities, in addition to fiduciary responsibilities, every organization has kind of organizational expectations that they set up for board members. And this is really when you go to recruit board members, what you want to show them to make sure that they can comply with being on the board. So it might be attending a % of board meetings. You know, you have to show up for 75% of the board meetings. Being informed about the mission, services, and policies of the programs, that's so you can ask good questions. Review committee agendas, serving on committees or task force. You need to serve on at least one committee or at least two committees to be a member of this board. Making a personal financial contribution is an important one. A lot of funders out there are not going to give to your organization if they see that the board's not giving it 100%, because they say, if your own folks aren't giving to support your organization, then why should we give to your organization?
And continuing with those expectations, we talked about, board members being that spokesperson for the organization and really getting the community and donors and others excited about your organization. So one thing that I want to just highlight on this particular slide here is that board members know what type of board members to recruit, because you understand where you are in that life cycle, which, like I said, we'll talk about more in the next session. When you go to recruit board members, look at your gaps. Look at, hey, we are not doing so well in the fundraising area. We need somebody who understands tax law a little bit better. So you think about your gaps and you recruit based on what your needs are. Make sure, as I said in the last slide, that the people coming on board initially, don't have a conflict of interest. Or I've been on boards where there's been land for sale and things of that sort, and people had serious conflicts of interest. And I'll talk about those situations more in later sessions. And then another thing I will talk about more as well is refrain from making special requests of staff. I've been in situations where board members have asked staff to allow them to like, this is one particular one, this agency is now closed, so I can use this example, but it was during Christmas time and the board member wanted the staff to allow for he and his family to come in and paint some of the buildings in a group home, just kind of paint some of the rooms and do some different things. And it was a real good, feel good for he and his family, but boy, did it put a strain on that staff and where they had to place the kids and things of that sort. So you want to refrain from making special requests of staff.
So fundraising roles specifically for board members are to develop the vision and strategy for the organization. So a fundraising committee should be established on the board to kind of pull together all of the different components of fundraising and make sure that there's a common strategy through it. Everyone, as I said, should be a donor. Everyone on the board should give of their own personal treasure to help the board. Being an ambassador and just letting people know about the organization and understand more about the organization and spread the word about the organization is important. And then fundraising support, so turning up and being in a support role at an event or at a fundraiser is another important role.
So some of the quality components of a nonprofit board, you all, there's a ton that you can add in here. And these are things that are needed to have a good, successful board. But I'm going to hit you with one of the basics first. And I want you all to hear this, because a board that does not have trust amongst its members is doomed. You want to have a board where folks are looking across the table, they trust each other, that everyone is there for the right reasons. And these quality components that you see up here are very important. For folks to be genuine, these are things that are hard to sniff out, to be quite honest, before you invite people to be on a board. So you want to look at folks who have demonstrated that they are a genuine person in how they carry themselves, their ethical fiber, their moral fiber, that they have empathy for others, not just a person who's just going to think their way is the only way, and not have empathy for others, or looking to understand, seeking to hear things a different way, and with that as well, respect. And so I started this off by talking about trust. And when you think about all the changes that have to happen with strategic planning and when a board has to make really, really tough decisions, trust is at the core. And I heard this quote just the other day in this call. Well, it says, change happens at the speed of trust. So when you want to go certain directions and you're finding a board is like really, really banging its head together, those are issues of trust. You feel like one board member across the table is really just trying to push his or her agenda, or oligarch, help me, Julie. Oligarchy, yes. That is just like, I keep wanting to say Olive Garden in my head. So I'm sorry. But an oligarch has formed and they're pushing an agenda. So you want to make sure that you've done what you need to do to build trust. And Julie, I'm going to pop all these up here.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. So when you're on a board, these are just some ways to communicate with other board members. It's something that helps to support hard conversations when you're having these difficult conversations with other board members to decide the future of the agency, to decide and make some tough decisions sometimes. Each of these supporting, confronting, gatekeeping, mediating, harmonizing, summarizing are tools that you can use with other board members in your conversations.
And you will get a copy of all of this. So don't worry about the speed at which we're going. And so when you think about those things that take away from good board conversation and in the direction of an organization, it's that person that's sitting across from you that no matter what's said, it's yes, but they're dominating. They're analyzing every single word and labeling. Says, I think that you're just taking this a little bit personal, Terrence. This seems like it's about you. I mean, so that person that is always the naysayer. You know, we've tried this so many times. I mean, we can do it again if you want to, but chances are it's not going to work. It hadn't worked in the past, and so we want to make sure that we understand what's happening when you have a person that's dominating, and you want to call these things out in a real skillful way. But again, you'll get a copy of all these. So, Julie, I think that at this point, we need to land the plane to be
respectful of time. Absolutely.
Yeah, respectful of time. I'm looking at 8:59 now, but we know that you didn't have a lot of time for question and answers, but if you use the chat to put some of that in there, we'll make sure that we include that in session 102 at the beginning to answer some of those questions. Julie, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thank you for being with us, and thank you for participating today. We know, planning only does things where there's interactive participation among participants. So we appreciate you logging in the first place and taking part in the conversation.
Yes. Thank you all. Is there any burning question? I don't want to just leave you all hanging like that. Any burning question before we discontinue the call this morning? Okay. All right. Well, you all, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you in Strategic Planning 102.
Thanks, y'all.